Ladies and gentlemen, what is up and welcome to Thor Ragnarok Pro Tips. Now today aims to be the start of something that I hope to do for every single champion in Marvel Contest of Champions and then tie into the Marvel Contest of Champions tier list. So the vision is that the tier list that we have at the moment, you can click on any character and then you can bring up a written guide which also has an accompanying video as well, so you can see the character in action, and also has a variety of gameplay videos. So there is also a written component of this guide if you would like to reference anything said or just have a bit of a peruse of that at your own leisure, and that will be in the description of this video, and then the written guide also will link back to the video. So, Thor Ragnarok is a champion. He has absolutely fantastic damage output and strong ability accuracy reduction, as well as stun on longer fights. However, this character has some serious cons, as he relies on being awakened, being a high signature level, ideally 60 plus, to have a good duration on a signature ability, which is Thunder God's Wrath, and also having Hulk in the team to be an effective damage dealer. So those are the kind of big cons about Thor Ragnarok, is that he does require quite a lot of preparation. Now, in regards to his core abilities, for every 40 hits of the combo meter, Thor will gain a power gain buff that will fill his power from whatever it is currently to 100%. So if you gain the buff when you're on 95% power, you're going to get 5% power gain, but if you gain it while you're on 0% power, you're going to get 100% power gain. So a lot of the maximization of this character's damage output relies on playing that buff, you know, very, very efficiently. We're going to talk about how to do that a little bit later on the video. In terms of what else he can do, his special attack 1 has a 45% chance to stun for 1.8 seconds, and if you're over a combo of 40 more, this chance is increased to 100%, so it guarantees the stun. But I don't think there are too many scenarios where this becomes useful. Maybe, you know, if you want to finish off a champion just run a couple of special ones down before, you know, above 40 hits, like it's all right, but to be honest, the special one I don't believe has much of a great use in terms of the Thor Ragnarok rotation. Also, every time a stun is inflicted on the opponent, Thor deals damage equal to 250% of that attack if the opponent is suffering from an armor break, and this is super easy to trigger via signature ability, so that's something to keep in mind there as well. Also, Thor has a 30% chance whenever he is being intercepting to auto block, and this can trigger parry, so it's potential, you know, if you're kind of learning how to intercept, this is maybe one of the best characters to have a little bit of trial and error with, because you have that 30% chance of you know, having the auto block save you, so that's a little bit of a potential upside there. But you know, overall this isn't super reliable, so it's not something you know, that you should try and count on too much. And also, Thor has very powerful synergies with both Hulk and Hela. So in terms of the synergy bonuses here, the synergy with Hela is whenever Thor Ragnarok kills an opponent, he will regenerate 10% of his maximum health. And the synergy with Hulk, which is incredibly important, is plus 60% attack when Thunder God's Wrath is active. So yeah, a lot of reliance on first the character being awakened, and then also having this synergy to get the huge attack bonus with Hulk. So when this character is awakened, the special 3 will activate a buff called Thunder God's Wrath, which you can see via a orange symbol just below Thor Ragnarok, and this will be up to 25 seconds depending on the signature level, and this is why we recommend 60 signature stones in Thor Ragnarok, because 60 takes it roughly to about 20 seconds, and that's what you need for kind of a good rotation and good uptime on the character, and we'll talk about the rotation in a second, but ideally you need about 60, or else this character is going to be a little bit gimped. So, what Thunder God's Wrath does is it gives every single physical contact with the enemy, so this is when they are attacking into you when you're blocking any sort of hit, a 40% chance to inflict shock, dealing 35% of Thor's attack over 5 seconds. So every shock on the opponent actually also reduces their ability accuracy by 15%, and every time a shock is applied, there is a 16% chance to stun the opponent for 2 seconds, and a 40% chance to apply apply a fairly moderate armor break. It's well, it's 666.67 armor rating reduction here for 6 seconds, and this can stack as well. So that's what the Awakened ability does. So some of the strengths of Thor Ragnarok is he's a very effective damage dealer on fights where he can ramp up and use multiple special free attacks, or at least get to 1 special free attack and then fire off 2 special 2 attacks. So in scenarios like that, really good damage dealer. He also has a very strong ability accuracy reduction for the majority of the time. Again, once you enter Thunder God's Wrath and you're doing the right rotation, you can have 100% uptime on this. So for the majority of the time, you can keep up about 3 to 4 stacks of shock. Sometimes it can be significantly higher, sometimes it can be a little bit lower, but if you're in that 3 to 4 region, that is a 45 to 60% ability accuracy reduction. And then if you also have the Pacify Mastery, whenever the opponent is stunned as well, that's an additional 30%. So that kind of jacks that 45 to 60% up to a 75 to 90%. So it can be very powerful, potentially 100% if you do get lucky enough with some of the shocks there. So some really interesting stuff. And as well as that, he has one of the highest health pools of any character in the game. So that's quite a nice advantage in comparison to Gwenpool. I believe he has about 15-20% more health, because the 4-star Gwenpool, at least in my mastery setup, is just over 13,000, so that's pretty cool. And also another benefit is that, you know, top tier skill champions like Gwenpool and Blade, both of those characters very much rely on your opponent being able to bleed. However, Thor Ragnarok is a shock-based character for the majority of his damage, and currently at this point in the time, there are no characters that are completely immune to shock. There are some characters like Kingpin and Agent Venom that have some resistance to debuffs and can shrug off, but there are no characters, at least to the best of my knowledge, that are fully immune to shock at the moment. But then we go into some of the weaknesses of the character. So for Ragnarok, as we mentioned, a few of these relies on being awakened, relies on ideally at least 60 signature levels to have some really good uptime on the Thunder God's Wrath and make sure that you can be dealing that consistent god tier damage, or demigod tier damage. Not quite god tier, let's say demigod tier damage. And then also relies on Hulk, the Hulk synergy for 60% attack. There's also a slight damage reduction when the opponent is immune to stun, because he won't gain that, you know, really nice burst of like 250% of additional attacks. There's a slight reduction there, and he also relies on the buff from his special free to start dealing some awesome damage. So he's really not a great option, or not very effective in some of the shorter fights in Marvel Contest of Champions. I'm going to talk about, you know, scenarios in the game which you could use for Ragnarok in a little bit, but let's get around to some of the pro tips for this character and how exactly do you play for Ragnarok. So from my experience in testing so far, the optimal rotation is to initially get to the special free around ideally about 35 hits, and make sure you bait out whatever special the opponent has, leaving them on 0 power. And this is quite important, because when you come out your special free, you just want to go into absolute like frenzy mode. So you want to make sure that you're not pushing your opponent to the special free and they're not going to attack back into you. So as soon as you pop the special free to push you over 40 hits, you'll come out of the special free with 100% power gain, because that's going to give you the boon of the God's buff. And then you'll want to go in and do the 5 combo and then use a special 2 and then build up to the special 3 again and use the special 3 just before you're out to hit another 40 hit threshold, and then just rinse and repeat. So there might be anywhere between like a 5 to 10 combo where you're kind of sat at that special 3, but in my experience it's a good idea to kind of linger there and just kind of have that time where you're just going absolutely ham with the Thunder God's Wrath, and as soon as you're about to go over that next 40 hit threshold, then yeah, pop the special free so that you can continue the rotation on and on. So it's a fairly straightforward rotation of special free, come out of that, power gain, special 2, build up to the special 3 again, just wait till you're about to hit 40 hit threshold, and then rinse and repeat. However, on shorter fights, you can potentially make the decision, this is something that you might want to do in Act 5 or certain bits in Alliance Quest if you want to use the champion, to use the special free, and then use a double special 2 to dispatch of the enemy. So this might be the more effective option in shorter fights in Act 5, but you should only do that if you think your opponent will die before you hit the next special free, if you believe that you are in that damage range. So yeah, that's, you know, kind of your call, and I believe your decision making will get better. You know, the more you play this character and the more you get used to the amount of damage that he can potentially deal. Now, the next question is, where do you play Thor Ragnarok? What elements of the game is he pretty good in? So Thor Ragnarok and Hulk could potentially be a really awesome combination. For Alliance Quest maps 3, 4, and 5. They might also be alright when it comes to stuff like certain paths in map 6, but when it comes to map 6, a lot of the player base favors, you know, heavy regeneration champions with immunities like Ghost Rider and Blade are really, really popular options at the moment. So yeah, I'm not too sure about this character for map 6, but you know, he's an alright option for kind of map 3, 4, and 5. Also Act 5, he has some really solid merit as a solid damage dealing champion, got a really nice health pull to kind of buffer some of the damage away, and in comparison to some other champions, he has slightly increased block proficiency. It's not really that much to be of huge effect, but you know, it helps mitigate some of the damage. Also, if you have this character awakened as a 4-star and you've yet to do something like Realm of Legends, fantastic option for dealing with a lot of the fights in Realm of Legends. There's also potential, if you got lucky enough to actually kill Realm of Legends Wolverine with Thor Ragnarok. But again, that's a bit of a gamble. But you know, with his ability accuracy reduction, you could potentially prevent Wolverine from triggering any of his regeneration. But yeah, that's very, very RNG dependent, and not the best idea. So if you are doing Realm of Legends, I'd probably bring a 3 or 4-star guillotine to deal with Wolverine. And then finally, if you have this character as a 5-star rank 4 awakened character, I think in the entire spectrum of the game, he's probably one of the better options for Labyrinth of Legends. I wouldn't say he's quite at that amazing level that certain champions like Star-Lord and Stark and Spider-Man at, and I'd say Gwenpool for the majority of fights is quite a bit better, but you know, for an initial clear, if you get this character as a 5-star, if you get him awakened, absolutely fantastic in some of the fights, matchups where Bleeding Mutant champions might lag behind, and also got a really strong matchup for stuff like Ant-Man and Magic. On Magic, you can significantly reduce the amount of limbo procs that you get, so he has a really decent merit there. But anyway, that's pretty much it for all the pro tips that I have on Thor Ragnarok. He's a fairly easy champion to play once you understand and get a little bit used to him, but hopefully the gameplay tutorial today and the pro tips video has been pretty useful. If you enjoyed this video, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Apart from that, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.